Hi, welcome back to the channel. So what I have here is a project that I've been meaning to start for a while now. This is my older bike that I bought back in 2012. It's a 2012 Specialized LA Evo. It's got about 45,000 miles on it. I rode it a lot right up until 2 years ago when I replaced it with a tarmac, a new tarmac. But I do ride this bike quite a bit, and it does need some maintenance. Primarily the paint work. There's some areas on the bike, especially up around the seat post area and down below the lower bracket, the bottom bracket, where the paint has either worn away because of the external cabling rubbing on it or paint chips underneath. Once you wear away the paint, being an aluminum frame bike, the aluminum starts to oxidize because it has no protective layer on it anymore. So that aluminum oxide tends to migrate underneath the paint layer and it blisters the paint. So what I want to do is take on a little project here, remove certain parts of the bike for me to get at these exposed areas. I want to go ahead and sand away the blistering, treat the aluminum the best I can, and go ahead and repaint that to get a good color match. Now, fortunately, this is basic black, white, and red color from Specialized. And these colors match perfectly to the Testors blue or black and red and white paints that come in their kit. And I've already done that over the years. I've touched up certain parts of the paint where I've had little nicks and scratches. And it's a nice paint. It holds up well. And when it dries, it's got a nice gloss to it. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, make this little project. And hopefully I can get this to look as close to factory as I can. Thank you. So you can see here, this is where all the blistering is. And it's not a nice look for sure. And that's all been caused by either the chipping on the eyelets or mostly the wear underneath this external cable. You can see how that has caused most of this problem. And then underneath on the bottom bracket, it's all exposed here from probably just road rash, rocks and dirt coming up. But this is also all blistered. So that paint chips away pretty easily. Then I'll be able to clean that up and repaint that. And I'm sure it's going to come out really nice. Yeah, so just by taking off the some of the stickers, it pulled away a big piece of the paint. So you can really see the corrosion underneath that paint, right? And that all needs to get taken care of. So the next thing I'm going to do is pull out these brake cables and housings so I can get at those eyelets underneath. All right, so small change of plans. I ended up taking most of the components off the frame. It's given me really good access to get in here and clean up all the corrosion or touch up paint where I need to do that. There are a few more spots that I wanted to address. This is the main area. This is the reason why I wanted to take it apart and start in the first place. All up around the seat post area and the top tube, there's a lot of corrosion, a lot of paint bubbling. So we'll definitely have good access to that right now. As you come down to the bottom bracket, and this was the secondary part that I wanted to address, I took the crank out. You can really kind of see all the bubbling and chipping of the paint. I'll be able to get at that pretty well. I don't think I'm going to need to take the bearings out. If I have to, that's not a problem. I've got the tool for that. They come right out pretty quick. The bearings are in nice shape. I don't really have to replace them. But as I was inspecting the bike, there are a few other spots. As you come up by the rear derailleur, you can see some paint missing. I'll be able to get that cleaned up, right? And also some more of these eyelets. As you kind of move forward to the front top tube, you see this, these eyelets are missing their paint also. And you know what that's due to? That is because on the housings, they have metal ferrules you can put on the front of the housings, and they've got plastic ferrules. And I switched to the plastic ferrules a few years ago, but the damage was already done. The metal ferrules are aluminum, some are stainless steel, but you get dissimilar metals, and that starts a galvanic reaction, and you get some corrosion. So on an aluminum frame bike, you probably don't want to use steel ferrules on the ends of your tubing, on your guide tubes. But, lesson learned. You got the plastic ones on there now. But, it's apart. It's ready to start. I'll get in there and start sanding away at the paint. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of get this loose paint off before I start sanding and prepping the aluminum. So I'm just going to use a blade. In this case, it's a utility knife. It slides underneath the blistered paint and does a really nice job just kind of helping me understand how far back this corrosion goes. It does do a great job removing this blistered paint very easily without doing too much damage to the aluminum itself. And then it clears a spot for me to really get in there and clean up the oxidation. So I'll do this on this section and then underneath, and I'll find all the other areas where I see blistering, and I'll kind of take care of it by doing this. And this is actually working quite well. It's moving along really nicely. It's cleaning it up very, very well. Like even this eyelet right here, this chips it off the eyelet pretty well here. I'll be able to clean this up. So chipping away the paint with the utility knife, that's worked out quite well. And it's also helped me find out where the transition point is, where the blistering is stopped, and where the original paint is still adhered to the frame very well. And as you're scraping along, you run into this resistance where this paint is adhered extremely well on the frame. So that's the edge I'm going to stop. And I kind of do that all the way around. You can kind of see it. This paint's not coming off. I mean, I'm scraping here pretty well, trying to get the tip of the knife under the edge. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it went quite well. I use the sandpaper now, and I'll take this back down. I'll get this rough edge off. I'll get that down to the bare aluminum. I'll kind of flare out this paint edge all the way around and clean up this eyelet. But I'll do this on the other spots, underneath the bottom bracket, back where the derailleur is, and a few other spots to kind of clean that up. But this went very well. All right, so before I started sanding, what I wanted to do is protect the parts of the frame that aren't damaged. There's no blistering. There's no damage from the corrosion. I used some of this painter's tape, and I just wrapped it around the areas that I don't want the piece of sandpaper to scuff up. As you're getting close to this edge and you're sanding along, the edge of the sandpaper is going to hang over a little bit, and it's going to put some small scratches in this. So I wanted to make sure I protected that so I didn't have to go in and paint more and do more repair than I had to. But I think this is going to work out pretty well. All right, so what I have here is just a small piece of 320 grit sandpaper. I cut it small so I can maneuver it around this small area well. So I'm just going to kind of see how that looks. And that's doing a really nice job taking the oxidation down. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of flare these edges so when I put the paint in, you don't see that badly of a transition between the new paint and the old paint. And this is working out really well. It doesn't, using a small piece of paper, it doesn't overhang into this area too much. It doesn't catch on the edges of the tape to lift it up. So I'll just keep doing this until I get a surface that I like, a surface that I think is going to work out well. And then I'll look into finding a way to, get some primer here before I put the paint on. But I think this is going to work out really well. All right, so I'm finished sanding this with the 320 grit paper. This came out really well. I'm pretty happy how this looks. The transitions are nice and smooth from the paint into the metal. I cleaned this all off with some cleaner just to get the dust off. But I'm really happy how this came out. I got a section here that the paint is still adhered to the aluminum very strongly. So I just smooth that off. You get a nice transition, wrap it right around, and I'll repaint this whole section. So here I picked up some spray cans. This is the etching primer. This can be used for aluminum as well as any other metals. We'll get that on first, let that dry up good. And then I am going to use a spray-on gloss black to cover the areas that we just prepped. And then that, I'm thinking that should look pretty good. I was going to paint it with a brush using the Testors paints, but the black has a lot of area to cover, so I figured the spraying of the black would be better. All right, so then I went ahead and taped off areas that I didn't want to get the paint on, of course. Here we got the bare metal, taped off the bearing surface. I taped back as far as I thought I needed to so I wouldn't get overspray on. And then I'm just going to go ahead and apply the etching primer first. So I masked off the red stripe and extended it back over where I just painted with the black spray paint. And I just threw one coat of red on there. I think I'm going to need another coat. It looks to be some brush marks. We'll see how that settles down. But you can kind of see them. You can kind of see them back here, some of the where it's a little bit darker. Hopefully I can clean that up with another coat. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to see how it works out. But I think it's going to be okay. I'll do the same with the white stripes, the pinstripes when I get this figured out. All right, so let's see how this came out. I'll try to peel off some of the tape, see what kind of edge I got. Not sure if it came out clean. We'll see in a second. All right, that's not too bad. Now what I want to do is I practiced on the red. It's a little bit wider, a wider stripe, but I do need to get those white pinstripes up there as well. So I'll tape those off next and then start painting those. All right, so I taped that off the best I could. I got some nice thin gaps between the tape, so I think those white lines are going to protrude nicely, extend right up to the end. We'll let that dry. Now, while I'm letting that dry, and that'll pretty much be the end of this painting upgrade, is I'm going to look around for these little nicks and little chips that I can touch up with the Testors paint. So I'm going to take care of that now. I'm just going to take a quick look around, do what I can about touching some of these up. I mean, the back of the seat post is a little bit worn here. I could probably touch that up. What I'm using are these Testors paints. I bought this 10 piece set off of Amazon for about $25. And it comes with these nice paints. I'm pretty much just using the black here, the white, and the red. And then the brush cleans up nicely. So I'll go ahead and use this black now, and I'll go ahead and touch up some of those little chips. Alrighty, so I think I'm done. Pretty happy how this came out. So here's kind of the graphic, how it goes up toward the seat tube. That came out pretty well, considering it was all corroded and blistered and bubbled. A lot of the touch-up I did around the back of the seat tube, and then as I rotated around, you see the bottom bracket. All that corrosion's gone. It's been painted. It's been primed and painted up pretty well. And then all the little chips that I found and saw, I cleaned those up. You know, the bottom dropouts are cleaned up, all the eyelets. So, you know, in general, I'm pretty happy with how this came out. It really wasn't a lot of work. You know, it's certainly not a professional job, but, you know, the bike is going on 14 years old, 45,000 miles on, and it's got a lot of riding left on it. So I'll go ahead and put this back together. It'll pretty much be like a brand new bike. It's definitely going to ride like one. So again, I'm pretty happy how this came out. Okay, so I'm finished with the project of repairing the corrosion up by the seat tube, reestablishing the pinstriping the best I could. I'm real happy how this came out. Fixing and painting the bottom bracket, that was pretty straightforward. That's just plain black paint. There is no additional pinstriping involved in that. And during the restoration of restoring the paint and removing the corrosion, I also did a few other little upgrades. I repainted the stem. There was some crazing of the graphic on the stem, so I just repainted that black. It looks pretty nice. I put a new out front mount so I don't have to clamp around the bars. Replaced the bar tape. I kind of like this bar tape. I touched up the water bottle cages, and I also went around and I replaced a lot of the corroded fasteners that were on the bike. Like I said, the bike's 14 years old. It does have some corrosion where your sweat drips on it, or you know, I live in the Carolinas, so there's a lot of heat down here with the salty air. You know, so all in all, I'm super happy how this came out. The bike looks brand new. I took it for a nice ride yesterday with the group. Of course, it performs as well as it always did. It's a fantastic bike. So again, I'm really happy how this worked out. If you like this as well, you can subscribe and like the video. But again, thank you very much for watching.